Okay, there's gotta be something else in here. This review can't live on just One Piece jokes for the whole video. I have to dig deep. Alright, what do we have here? Luffy. More Luffy. Just get those out of the way. Those jokes are too easy to make. There's plenty of Marvel and DC characters who can stretch. It's also kind of too easy. No. No. Oh, Elastigirl. Nah. Too much Rule 34 baggage comes from using this. Huh. Has arms ever been relevant? Oh, what's... Oh, what's this down here at the bottom? It's covered in dust. I got it! Stretch Armstrong! Clearly, this is what I need to reference to make my videos stand out from the rest. This will surely be a big hit. Well, that didn't work out. Okay, back to square one. Welcome back, Nakama, to my review of the latest One Piece chapter, Chapter 1120, Atlas. Luffy and his Straw Hat Pirates are at it again in this newest chapter. I'm Moonlight150 from A Slice of Gaming, and this is my review of the latest chapter of the 100 Girlfriends manga, Rentero's Family Super Fun Vacation. As always, I won't be going over everything as I encourage you to support the official release, and especially the Scanlation teams who put in the hard work to bring us this series as new chapters drop. Now, on to the recap. As we saw in the preview from the last chapter, the family is finally going on vacation together. Is it finally summer at last? Might be a bit too early to tell, but we know they are off to a private beach that the Hanazono own, because of course they own one. And taking a quick look around this plain seating arrangement, it's pretty odd to me. Rentero's family definitely has some cliques of characters who hang out more with one another than some others, but we see none of the usual pairings here. Just an odd little detail. Mei and Shizuka have taken it upon themselves to fly this expedition, clearly putting the child-sized Shizuka who can't speak on her own, and the maid who can't open up her eyes flying a plane will surely not have any problems. And there was immediately a problem. Yeah, so they end up crashing their plane without a single injury from anyone. And that wreck looks pretty bad. It's not like they ran out of fuel and landed there. That there is a crash. Mei says that they went through some clouds and that there was a strange impact and suddenly they find themselves crashed and stranded. Mei offers to offer herself as repentance, but Yamame stops her from becoming shark food. I also agree with low-quality Meru here that everyone coming out unharmed is a perfect fairy tale ending. A little too perfect. The first thing that everyone notices afterwards is that the sun seems stronger, almost like it's closer than usual. Everyone goes into survival mode, wondering how they're going to survive, planning out how to get food and water. Sue is unbothered by the lack of water as they are surrounded by it, once again proving that numbers really are the only thing that Sue knows. And because this is the kind of manga with no drama or suspense, Rentero and Kurumi conveniently stumble upon an oasis of clean drinking water and some fruit up in a tree. Rentero offers to climb the tree, and Iku offers her butt as a crash pad. How nice of her, no ulterior motives there at all. Rentero offers himself as the poison tester of the group and eats the fruit to see if it's safe for his girlfriends to eat. With nothing immediately bad happening to him eating it, Rentero decides to grab a few more. Then out of nowhere, Rentero finally fulfills his prophecy of taking after Luffy by actually stretching his arm to be able to grab the fruit high in the tree, to the horror of all of his girlfriends.
He's made a rubber! How did that happen? Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum!
Karane panics, wondering if Rentero somehow ate the gum gum fruit, but Rentero is more worried about the fact that the fruit may not be safe for his girlfriends to eat. But the group encounters a new problem. Unlike Luffy, Rentero seems to be unable to go back to his original form. Once he's stretched out, it stays stretched. The sun is beginning to set and they need to set up shelter for the night. Rentero begins to ponder how his new powers could help his girlfriend survive on the island, but is also wondering if the manga has jumped the shark finally, which, honestly, I don't blame you for wondering. With the help of his girlfriends, he puts his new stretchiness to the test and begins taking out trees to gather materials for shelter. And no, I'm not going to play the sound clips here. I'm not doing it. Okay, fine. After they have gathered plenty of wood, Rentero does his best Squidward impression. Then, with his sheer willpower, molds himself and the logs into the House of Rentaro. They spend the night inside the house of Rentaro to get some shut-eye to tackle the situation in the morning. Rentaro then finds himself all stretched out and unable to retract himself to a normal size, once again to the horror of his girlfriends. Guess he still has more to learn from Luffy. Also, I'm surprised we don't have a counter for every time Mei has opened her eyes. I should keep track of that. Rentaro decides to make use of his new form by stretching himself far across the sea to see if he can find out anything about where they are. He finally finds himself at a wall and decides to scale up it by stretching even more, only to find on the other side... No, actually he finds out that they have crashed into Skypiea. No, actually he finds out that the Earth is actually flat. No, it looks like they've actually crashed right into a Ghibli movie. And then we must wait until the next chapter for any more answers. So I'm sure you're all thinking the same thing I'm thinking. Why is Aira thinking about fighting her own boyfriend now that he's a rubber man? No, actually it's what the hell is going on in this manga? There's no way this simple gag rom-com manga is actually introducing superpower-giving fruit from out of nowhere, right? And what the hell is up with the nonchalant plane crash at the beginning? It's time for my favorite pastime, speculation. The most obvious theory being that this is some sort of dream. We have some obvious hints, such as the miraculous no injuries from a plane crash, the way Mei described crashing in the first place, and even the mention of the sun being different than normal by the others. Oh, and I guess the random superpower giving fruits too. But there's two approaches we can take with this. Is the entirety of this chapter a dream? Or is only part of it? Now you're probably wondering why I'm saying only part of this chapter is a dream. Let me introduce you to my radical new theory, which I have dubbed Squirrel Theory. And now I'll leave a brief moment of pause here for you all to think that I have gone crazy.
Huh?
I think my past videos have already proven that. But, hear me out. In the first panel of the chapter, we see Yamame in the back of the plane here with everyone else, and we see her ever-trusty squirrel friend with her on top of her head. But once we reach the island, the squirrel is nowhere to be found. Now granted, we don't see Yamame too much in this chapter. Once she saves Mei from unaliving herself, we don't get too many shots of Yamame. But the few that we do, the squirrel is nowhere to be found. Not on top of her head, or on her shoulder, or anywhere. Am I really about to say that the squirrel from 100 Girlfriends is the spinning top totem from Inception? Yes. Yes, I am. Now I do realize this little crackpot theory of mine could be easily disproven next chapter by the squirrel showing up. But as of this chapter alone, once they reach the island, the squirrel is nowhere to be found. Maybe meaning the plane scene was real, but the island scenes aren't. Now it's also entirely possible, like I said, that the entirety of this chapter is a dream, and at the end Rentaro is going to wake up back on the school rooftop at the end of all this, and we're back to the same old same old. But I like my squirrel theory better. That the panel on the plane is real, and the family really is on their way to the Hanazono private beach, but on the plane ride, Rentaro fell asleep and is having this dream. And what I'm really hoping and stretching, is once he awakens from this dream and they arrive at the beach, and it begins the summer vacation arc in the next volume, like I predicted. Along with the reasons I mentioned earlier that dream theory works here, here's a bit more to go along with it. The reason everyone escaped from the plane crash unharmed and that there was no traumatic crash is because not even in his own dreams Rentaro would want any harm or danger being brought to his girlfriends. And the fact that they found food and water instantaneously is because Rentaro would never dream of his girlfriends going hungry or thirsty. And the fact he is given Luffy's rubber powers is because Rentaro admitted himself that he models himself after Luffy as someone who protects his family. I do think this will be a 3-chapter arc as we are nearing the end of the volume. Would be kind of weird to have this be 2 chapters and then a random single standalone chapter at the end, but I guess this wouldn't be the first time something like that happened. A lot of people also think we're going to be meeting Girlfriend 30 on this vacation, but given all the dream evidence, I don't see that happening. Plus the author has stuck to this pattern of when we get girlfriends being the first chapter of the volume, so why break that now? I mean, he could at any time, but I just don't see that happening right now. This is why I'm hoping my squirrel theory is correct, and we get this crazy dream vacation arc, but it leads to the actual vacation arc at the beginning of the next volume when we get Girlfriend 30. Also, this stranded on an island arc further supports my theory that I said back in the flower viewing chapter video, that the author needed Rentaro to propose to the 4 newer girlfriends before the end of the volume, and the flower viewing chapter was the best one to do so, and that's why he stuck it there. And it seems I was right on that front, because he wasn't going to propose in the Flirty Dates chapters, or in the Shizuka and Mero standalone chapters, or while everyone is stranded on an island, further cementing my theory that the proposal section of the chapter was added on later on from the initial draft of that chapter. Anyway, Enough of my rambling on theories. All we can gather right now is that this is some of the wildest this manga has ever gotten in a while, if ever, only rivaling that of the Hairpocalypse chapter. And I'm totally here for it. And also we can gather that Nakamura remembered his Netflix password and is currently on a Lost rewatch binge. What do you think will be the conclusion of this arc? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next week as we hope to get more answers. See you all then.